called Belaya Tserkov in Russian or Bila Tserkva in Ukrainian, which is located about an hour and a half outside of Kiev. The reason why I came here is because Bila Tserkov is a place that is notorious for two reasons, one really great, one really bad. Belaya Tserkov is renowned for a dendrarium that is here that was built by a Polish count back in the 18th century. The second reason is because Belaya Tserkov is also the place of an infamous massacre that occurred while under Nazi occupation. Ukraine has an interesting relationship with Jewish history in general. Ukraine is a place where Jewish history was fundamental, not only to the history of Ukraine, but also for the history of Judaism as well. But at times it feels that Ukraine tries to ignore this past. Belaya Tserkov at one point's population was actually 50% Jewish. Currently that population is under 1,000. The majority of the population fled after the pogroms in the early 20th century. The reason why I started this whole project was because it's really important that we remember not only the good things that happen in places, but also the bad things. And Belaya Tserkov is a perfect example of that. It's not possible for us to pretend that the massacre that occurred here never happened and just to go about our merry day, because it did happen. And it had a long-lasting effect not only on Ukrainians and on Ukrainian history, but on the world as well. So we're about to see a couple of places that are related to Belaya Tserkov today. The first one is going to be the Dendrarium, and then afterwards we're going to see a former synagogue and lead it up to the namesake church, why it is that this place is even called Belaya Tserkov. Oh, I forgot to say, Belaya Tserkov means white church here in the town, which is a big white church. Okay, so I'm currently at Alexandria Park here in Belaya Tserkov. It was built in the late 18th century by the wife of a Polish nobleman and is a pretty popular park in the area. You got lots of trees, as you would expect in an arboretum. The park is basically a Hallmark Valentine's Day card come to life. There are waterfalls, there's like places where there are swans, plenty of couples galore trying to take that elusive Facebook couple waterfall picture that we all strive for. But it's a pretty cool park, and if you're ever here in Belaya Tserkov, try to make it out here. Okay, so why is it that Belaya Tserkov is named Belaya Tserkov, which in English means the White Church? Many people might think that that is because of this building right behind me, which is the Church of Saint John the Baptist, and is currently a museum for the city. But really, no one actually knows. The White Church that they're probably talking about has probably already long been destroyed. The city of Belaya Tserkov is actually 983 years old, making it older than Moscow. So whatever they're talking about, a lot of very important historical events occurred here in this tiny sleepy hamlet. One of the most notable is the signing of a treaty between Bogdan Khmelnytsky, who was the leader of the Ukrainian Cossacks, and the Lithuanian Duchy. The signing of this treaty was important because it basically recognized the statehood of Ukraine, which eventually would lead to the founding of modern-day Ukraine today. So nationalism is kind of a funny thing. Right now, Ukraine is struggling to find its own national identity. There's a bunch of dogs over there fighting, which is normal here in Ukraine. But the community of Belaya Tserkov at one point was 50% Jewish. Behind me is actually a former synagogue that is currently vacant. Before being vacant was a clothing shop. Because of two pogroms, and then afterwards in 1941, 1942, with the Bila Tserkva massacre that happened during Nazi occupation, the Jewish population fled this area, most of them for the United States, Israel, and Western Europe. And currently what remains are buildings they don't even have markers on them. And I'm going to be going next to a former hospital that was actually founded by a Jewish philanthropist. Again, no marker showing that it was a Jewish hospital, but there is something that I read online saying that there might be one historical remnant of its Jewish past that remains on the building. So, I'm going to go check it out. Okay, so finally made it to the Jewish hospital of Bila Tserkva, where the only remnant of a thriving Jewish community remains, which is right behind me here. The Star of David that remains above the laboratory of the current municipal hospital. Built in 1903 by a Jewish philanthropist. Luckily it still stays here and still helps out the citizens of Bila Tserkva. And yeah, so leaving right now back to Kiev. It's been fun. Bila Tserkva, found a lot of really interesting places, and hopefully people out there will know more about the Jewish history of this really historical city in Ukraine.